This is Angie Setzer with your Grains in Context midday update. Trying a new format today, as you can see, probably something that we're going to make the switch over to as we head into August, just to help with time on my side and on your side, and maybe ease those eyeballs to not have to read your 1,000 to 1,500 word update in the middle of the day. So without further ado, here is today, July 24th, Grains in Context update. First bullet point, first factor to kind of focus on here, or that I have been watching, is the garbage sentiment in the market. Really kind of one of those markets that you really have to be amazed by. Yield and model talk continues to be exceptionally lofty. And really we're starting to see a very big difference in opinion, or at least maybe a difference in mindset between the agronomists in the industry and the analysts in the industry. On the agronomy side, lots of talk of worries over pollination issues, worries over that tassel wrap incidents, where we're seeing that there are more than just one variety that's being impacted. There's a lot of talk of potential yield loss in the 50 to 100 million bushel, or production loss in the 50 to 100 million bushel area, just kind of looking at if there's this much of this type of corn out there and it experiences this type of loss. Of course, all of that is still up for question. There's several folks out there that say we just have to wait a little bit longer to see, but it does appear as though there has been some level of pollination issue that could have an impact on overall production. And there's a lot more talk too about disease pressure, pest pressure, and other factors that could possibly be, limiting the upside on the corn yield, whether or not. In addition, we have some talk that portions of Iowa are quickly slipping into too much rain. Yes, in the industry, a lot of times folks will laugh at the concept of too much rain, but when you're looking at 8 to 10 inches plus of rain over the month of July in some spots, you've got some flooding of creeks and low-lying areas and things, and so we've got to be paying attention to that. But right now, the market has a hard time quantifying it, and as I led with, sentiment is pretty poor, simply because most everyone in the industry continues to feel as though demand is being overstated, though data doesn't point to it, and supply is understated. Next point we have kind of builds on the back of whether or not supply and demand numbers are accurate, as grain flows in this morning's export sales. Today's export sales were pretty solid, above expectations in a major way for wheat. Some of the biggest wheat export sales that we've seen. I was going to look to see if it was a marketing year high. Nope, we'd had a higher one yet this year, though 712,000 metric tons of wheat was substantially higher than what was expected. We did see an increase as well week over week in corn sales. Saw corn sales, old crop corn sales, around 600,000 metric ton, which is pretty solid, up substantially from a week ago. New crop corn sales were solid as well, came in around 734,000 metric ton. So a combined 1.3 plus million metric tons of corn sales is better than a stick in the eye, that's for sure, and indicative of what is going on in the world market and where U.S. corn, stands when it comes to competitiveness versus other suppliers. Soybean sales were okay. We saw old crop sales in that 161,000 metric ton range. They're down from last week, but last week's sales were kind of stuck out for this year in the marketing year. We did see some additional new crop sales put in place, about 240,000 metric ton. 120,000 of that went to unknown, but that is a previously reported sale. The rest of it basically Mexico, Japan, etc. In the products, soybean meal and oil, we didn't see much in the way of major surprises there. farmer. And so from an overall standpoint, though, I would say, export sales were still really decent from an overall standpoint for corn and soybeans as the year wraps up, and exceptional for wheat. Again, really kind of indicative of wheat, U.S. wheat being the cheapest in the world market. On the cash market movement side of things, we are seeing a continuation of basis strength developing across Brazil. We're seeing really, really limited farmer selling out of Argentina, both of soybeans and corn. There is a meeting, or Milei, Argentina's president, is expected to attend a meeting with farmers here this weekend. In it, a lot of folks are anticipating some type of announcement to where you could see that export to tax holiday return. Really, we've talked about this in the past, that export tax, that reduction in the export tax that the farmer paid was just really similar to the soy dollar or the corn dollar, where it put more money in the farmer's pocket. And so when that was offered, farmer selling picked up. Obviously, now that it's gone, the farmer is not going to be an aggressive seller. And that is creating some interesting dynamics in the cash market in Argentina. And we're also seeing that kind of ripple over, because we have seen, somewhat not limited farmer movement. Obviously, last week out of Brazil was one of the bigger weeks of corn sales in quite some time. But we're seeing a lot of what is being sold in Brazil be quickly absorbed by that market. Looking forward, it does appear as though Brazil is going to get competitive with the U.S. as we look out towards October, November, December timeframe, though we did see the U.S. win some Korea tender business, which happened to be falsely reported initially today as China. A lot of folks right away were like, that is not a China export sale. It was a flash sale announced as it being China. Almost immediately folks said that's not China, that's Korea. But in that same sale, we did see that Unknown came in and bought U.S. corn, both old crop and new crop. And those totals didn't match up with the Korean tender total. So we could have potentially seen China come in and made a purchase. But more than anything, to me, this is just kind of continuing to show that the U.S. is the dominant supplier in the global market. And with the rail discounts that we're seeing offered through the PNW, there are probably going to be a lot more in the way of opportunities ahead until we see Brazil kind of step up and start exporting corn with gusto. In the Black Sea market, we did see wheat has kind of fallen off here as we're entering into midday. It is working to climb its way back from what has been recent support, but there is more talk that Russia is coming into the market with offers today, relatively lower valued offers, or at least offers that are in line with where they should be or should get business, that is, once you factor in logistics. This has surprised some folks. Russia has just been MIA, and there's been some questions as to why. There's been some harvest delays because of weather. There's been some concern over production or crop size, and a few other things out there. But we are seeing Russia kind of work their way back into this, into the market, at least currently. $1 million question, of course, being with President Trump threatening to hit other countries that are customers of Russia eventually. So we gave that 50-day warning out there, where we would see an increase in sanctions. We'd see, some of these bigger moves by the Trump administration to really kind of crack down on Russia for continuing to wage the war in Ukraine. And so the big question is going to be, does the administration follow through with this warning? We're not getting anywhere closer to peace. Russia is kind of calling President Trump's bluff at this point. You could say we're still seeing big attacks. Last night, they actually struck parts of or some of the locations in Odessa. There was some port damage done. You're not going to see Russia stop this. So if you're a wheat buyer and you want to wait to see if Trump is serious or not, and that whether or not you'll be inflicted with secondary sanctions, have at it, you can. And so it'll be interesting to see if Russia does come back into the market, what kind of discount, if any, they have to offer up to their customers to convince them to make the purchases. We are, in addition, hearing about some quality issues out of the Black Sea and Europe, which could end up having some implications when it comes to moving forward with exports and just cash transactions overall. Lastly, trade chatter. This morning we've had some back and forth on the Japan trade deal. The lead negotiator, who spent weeks upon weeks working with the administration to try to establish some type of trade deal, came out this morning and said, yo, this is not even legal at this point, or we're not going to sign it. It's just kind of a framework. But we did see the Prime Minister, Shiba, come out and say, no, I will get my party to sign it. This is something that we're going to stick with. Though we do have some questions over how it is implemented and some other things. From an overall standpoint, though, it really, when it comes to ag in general, it's not a huge deal. It's not like you're going to see phase one style big increase in purchasing, but it does help to remove the uncertainty that was in the market, or the worry that Japan would have to retaliate if there wasn't some type of an agreement put together. We're watching developments between the EU and the US. So we did see the European Union meet in a bit of a tense meeting today with China. Neither party really walked away from that too awful satisfied. And so that should hopefully help when it comes to EU-US negotiations. The US negotiating team basically continues to say, hey, look at that Europe or look at that Japan trade deal. You could have the same thing if you wanted. So we'll definitely be watching to see if there are any developments there. We've got less than a week until the deadline is here for the rest of the countries around the world outside of China. We have about a week before we see the members of the administration meet again with China for an additional round of discussion. In this round, you're going to see a focus on extending the August 12th deadline. And then also, President Trump did say yesterday that he believes that we're very close to putting together a major trade deal with both the EU and China. And so we'll see. We'll see if maybe both of those come together here over the next couple of weeks. And if so, that should help just to kind of reinstate some confidence, or at least remove some of that uncertainty. Mexico's president did come out today and say she is also very optimistic that we'll be able to get something put together. And so that'll be something that we continue to watch in a big way. Market-wise here, as we cross into midday, it's about 12:16 Eastern that I am recording this. We have corn up about 1.50 pennies. Again, like I said before, we'd had that false report. So the USDA at 9 a.m. announced that we'd had an export sale to China and to unknown. Shortly thereafter, everyone kind of came out and said, we don't think that was to China. The USDA came back and said, you're right. It was to South Korea, though the unknown sale did stick. And unknown used to be thought to be China, but they came back out and said, you're right. But that was after the market had opened. So basically we opened up about a nickel higher after the bagel break, and then slowly watched that dissipate a bit. We're currently up about 1 penny, like I said. Wheat is off a couple, though the support that has been holding this market did hold again today. So we'll be watching that. Kansas City is up about 1 penny right now. Spring wheat's down a couple, even though the crop tour is finding lower yield estimates than what we had seen a year ago. Beans are mixed. November board is down about 1 penny currently. Soybean oil is higher. Soybean oil meal is lower. Crude oil is higher, and the dollar is up just a little bit after trading lower to start the day. As always, don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. I'm here to help in any way that I can. Feel free. I'm going to link the YouTube conversation with Eduardo and Nicholas. Carol and I had that. Fantastic insight into what's going on in the cash market around the world. And so, yeah, have a fantastic Thursday. Hopefully you like this new format. Feel free to give feedback, and have a good day.